Oh, we're back. Driving Basics 17. Sorry for the absence. So, on a driving lesson, this happened. Luckily, look, everyone's okay. It's a low speed collision, but even at low speed, there's a lot of damage that's been caused, and it's taking a long time to get fixed. So, that is why I'm in a different car again. I'm in a Kia Picanto, which I cannot stand. It's a GT version. It's honestly one of the worst cars I've driven, but it's keeping us on the road. This is Kenneth the Kia, and he's taken over from Maggie the Mazda until she's all fixed. So we're cracking on with Driving Basics 17, and of course, because we've had an incident, we're going to use that for Driving Basics 17. This is a really common thing that everyone does, and I'm not saying everyone as in every single person. I'm saying full license holders do it, learners do it, people that have been driving 20 years do it. Not necessarily at every junction, but it is a really common thing that is happening on the roads, and it is causing problems massively. My insurance company, after the crash, said this is the most common thing we see. It's almost every day. Someone hitting into each other at a junction because they haven't checked properly. It's so avoidable. It really is. So if you notice in the video, when the young man that's following me um, has the left turn coming up, if you watch him in the rear camera, as he glides round the curb, his only focus is to the right. And so many of you do this. I see this almost every day. Occasionally we have to react to people that are doing it. And it is a lack of understanding, and it's a lack of having that moment that creates that clarity for us in that we should not be doing this. So I'm going to do a junction in a minute the way that a lot of people would do this junction, and exactly how the young man unfortunately did that junction, and show you what people are doing wrong. And it is very wrong. Now, the first thing I'll say on the footage is, look, this is not to make this man feel silly. He was very apologetic. He was concerned for my learner. But unfortunately, financially, it's going to cost him quite a lot of money. You know, yes, his insurance will, of course, pay. But do remember, when you crash into the back of someone, you're very rarely going to have a leg to stand on. And you're going to end up, your insurance has got to cover the costs of my car to repair, which I will let you know when I find out what it is. It's not going to be cheap. Then you've got the cost of me in a dual control replacement car for about a month. That is a lot of money on its own. So you're going to have all sorts of added expenses. If there's injuries, you've got personal injury claim that needs to be settled, etc. So look, it's a real avoidable situation. I think that's the first thing. That's one I'll be doing soon. The white car in front of me moved into the right-hand lane, so I assume they're going to turn right at the roundabout. But I didn't overtake them on the left, okay? And the reason was I couldn't see a right signal. So I am just going to sit behind them until either we get close to the roundabout or until I see that right signal. And in the end, didn't overtake them at all. That will be another driving basics. Whoa. Meow. God, I hate this car. Now that's actually the junction where I had the crash. And that was it done correctly. I'm checking to the left and the right. And it's quite easy to do. I remember not long ago, one of my learners' dads, he pulled me aside and he said, listen, I love you teaching him really well. I don't get this whole junction first gear thing. So like what he didn't understand was that most junctions, if it's closed, so that's where you can't really see very much, I get a learner to approach in first gear with the clutch held down, and then they make the decision. And the decision is based on obviously what they see. And he didn't understand why I was getting him to select first gear before he's got to the junction. He said, it should be second gear. If you try a lot of junctions in second gear, you'll probably do them, but you'll probably find that you're not observing both ways effectively. That's what I would suggest. And if that person following me had been first gear, doing it as I'm doing it, looking both ways, it wouldn't have had the problem of hitting into the back of us when we emerged and had to stop for traffic that was then coming towards us. I can't see clearly when you're gone on, and I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the light, a live vehicle. Remember your clearances. So you got a pedestrian in the road. The recommended clearance is 2 meters, and because it's on a bend, we're going to do that nice and slowly. And then the clearance to these vehicles requires me here, it's safer to slow down and let this van through and then carry on, giving adequate clearance in case one of their mates walks around the front. Everyone going home, that's what we want. Everyone going home safely, that's the aim. Not to get to where we're going in super record time. Now this junction I'm going to do as a lot of full license holders do. So I'm going to select second gear. This one I would do in second gear, but I'm just looking to the right, and now I check left as the car's already out. Now that felt, genuinely, I actually had a little glance out of the corner of my eye because I just felt really uncomfortable. But if you're doing this, try and pick yourself up. Did you actually check left before you cross those give way lines? If you didn't, you're risking what the young man in the video did. You're risking the most common cause that the insurance companies see. It's going to cost you thousands. For 5 years, you've got to declare that you've had an at-fault accident. That puts your premiums up massively. And think about that if you've just passed your test. You're already paying probably in the region of anywhere between 12 to 2.5 grand, maybe plus, to insure your car. And suddenly you've got to declare an at-fault accident. So pick yourself up if you're doing it. The reason a lot of people don't pick themselves up is because, like then, I did that junction and I didn't crash. There was nothing coming from my left that actually stopped me emerging. So I didn't crash. So if I'm doing this poorly, that reinforces in my head that I've done nothing wrong. And think about how I had a learner on her second lesson yesterday, and we were talking about these observations, and we were talking about making sure the importance of we observe left before we emerge. And one thing I said, right, so can you think of things coming from the left that could actually stop you emerging or cause you a problem? And she very correctly said, I could have an oversized vehicle that's kind of across both lanes. Then she managed to come up with, you could have a police vehicle coming that's on the blues and twos and is going past the junction, or overtaking people. Then she thought of parked cars that could force people onto the wrong side of the road. So I can do one of them junctions in a minute and show you the dangers if you're just whacking up to junctions in second gear. Yeah, lovely. And you're not actually doing these correct observations. But those kind of poor observations that I just demonstrated at that last junction are actually one of the reasons for things like Rule 167. So Rule 167 is about overtaking, and it says don't overtake in areas when you're likely to come into conflict with other road users, such as approaching a junction on either side, okay? And that is because you could be in the middle of an overtake and find that someone doing ineffectual observations that work at other junctions for them, and suddenly they are emerging as you go past the junction. And it happens, unfortunately, and people get very badly hurt. Oh, that's a really good place to overtake. We've literally, oh my days, and the lorry's turning. Oh. literally just talking about rule 167. Don't overtake at an opportunity at a time when you're likely to come into conflict with other road users, such as approaching a junction, and that blue car just decides, no, that's a really good time to take the turn. The lorry comes in, and admittedly, I probably in a lorry would not have taken that turn. But it's again, you can look and you can blame the lorry for maybe taking the turn, or maybe you can look at both. The only situations where you have proper problems on the roads is where both parties have done something wrong. So if the blue car's not overtaking there is no problem. If the lorry decides not to complete the turn because of the blue car approaching, there is no problem. And because they both do something wrong, you come into conflict. You probably couldn't see it very well on the dash cam. But guess what? That's going to be another driving basics, is about two wrongs. The reason I don't have problems in the roads is because I'm not doing the wrong thing. I'm always doing the right thing that's ready for someone else's wrong. At this point, if you haven't already, if you are watching me for the first time, do please like the video, do please subscribe. It's a very small channel, but I'm trying to grow. My only aim is helping people, and I've already done a few requests where people have asked for certain videos, and I've done them, and I'm happy to keep doing requests. It does take time because I have got 2 kids and life is pretty hectic. I'm in the middle of a house move and a car crash happened as well. But I'm happy to help learners, full license holders, and anyone that just wants a bit of advice is always welcome to send me a message on the Facebook page. It's on my YouTube channel, or comment on a video, and I'll endeavour to get back to you where I can. Right, is that car purple or blue? Because that is killing me. I can't work it out. Everyone's telling me it's blue. That is purple to me. I think I'm going mad. So I did a driving basics similar to this. It was driving basics 10, which was about, oh no, was it 9? 9, I think, which was about your, this shouldn't happen at giveaways. And I got about 4 thumbs down for that video, and I genuinely don't care about thumbs down, because you're just getting the people that don't care and have bad attitudes, and they look and they go, oh no, it's nonsense, I don't need to do that. And I don't care about those type of people. If you think road safety is a thumbs down, then I don't want to be associated with you. I don't want anything to do with you. Get off my channel, go and watch something else. But if you think about the reason I'm probably getting the thumbs down there, is because I'm saying about identify if it's an open or closed junction on the approach. And if it's a closed junction where you can't make a decision on the approach, select first gear, keep the car slow, and check in both ways as you're coming up to the line. That way you don't have any problems ever. Make it your habit, so that while I'm doing a YouTube video, I can still be doing the things that I normally do. I can still be keeping myself safe. If it's not your habit, so if it's your habit that you only stare to the right, when it really matters and you're not thinking about it, you're just thinking about getting to where you're going, or you're thinking about that conversation that you had with your boss, you're going to find yourself just staring to the right. And eventually, you might well find yourself in the back of another vehicle, or even worse, having an oncoming collision, which is much worse. And that could have been much worse. And I just always thank me lucky stars that it wasn't. But I will be honest, that's the 4th time in my life I've been hit from behind. And it's getting kind of boring, if I'm honest. It's getting pretty boring. So here's the junction. It's definitely closed. I can't see to the right. So I can get a good view to the left. And that's probably what caused this person then to stare that way. But again, I'm just never going to have a problem doing a junction like that. I've not lost any time over someone that would roll in quicker in 2nd gear. And I've actually done it safe to the point where nothing will ever happen to me there. I can guarantee I will never go into the back of another car at a junction because of the way I observe. And when we got out, the guy, look, again, I won't accept any, you know, comments belittling him. He's made a mistake, right? And unfortunately, he's learnt a lesson the hard way. But he was very, yeah, very apologetic, as I said, wanted to know how my learner was. And one thing he said was, I just found really interesting. He goes, it's just one of them things, isn't it? And I looked and I thought, but it's not though, is it? It's not one of those things. If you'd been doing it properly, you would not have had that crash. That simple. That simple. And even low speed, as I said, it's going to cost a lot of money, unfortunately. And just think about that. Think how avoidable it is. Feels good to be back. Genuinely, question: if you own a Kia Picanto, why? What made you go into the showroom and actually spend your money on this car? I cannot stand it. Sorry if you own a Kia Picanto. And I'm not saying it's an old person's car, but I've been looking at other Kia Picantos, obviously now I'm in one, and every single one is driven by someone with grey hair. That's all I'm saying. So as I emerge left here, just because there's usually parked cars to the left, so I'm looking both ways, I'm slow enough, I can see it's clear right, but see now the check to the left, there's actually, the dash cam won't show it, there's a van just emerging past those parked cars, and it's their priority to do so. And he's given me a little wave to say thank you. It wasn't my priority to force myself out onto the road. They are on the major road, so I must give way to them. And so I did. And that is, again, another reason for taking your time. That is a junction where something coming from the left will stop you emerging if it is there. So that is Driving Basics 17. And it is one that definitely, hopefully a lot of people will think about, am I doing this? Do remember, like I said, insurance company told me it's the most common cause of collisions. And if you go into the back of someone at a junction, you've pretty much got it. You've not got, as long as there's a legitimate reason that they've stopped for you, haven't got much defence, I'm afraid. I'll see you for the next one.